How's it going, Shutter Sports fans? This is the Shutter Sports Refresh. It's the weekly show that makes your day hopefully just a little bit better through the world of sports. I'm your host, Finn Noel, and before we get started, we have to address some tragic news that struck on Thursday. Unfortunately, that tragedy struck on Thursday the 29th as hockey player Johnny Gaudreau and his younger brother Matthew were killed while visiting home for their sister's wedding. The two were riding on their bikes as they got killed by a drunk driver. Please drive sober, everybody. The effect that these two brothers had on not just hockey, but their community as a whole is indescribable and leaves a mountain of grief for those remembering them. Our prayers go out to their friends and family as the whole world continues to mourn Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. Moving over to some happier news now, the NFL's 7-month wait for a regular season game is finally over. The matchups start this Thursday with the Baltimore Ravens vs. Kansas City Chiefs game that could be one of the best of the whole year. For all our fantasy players out there, the deadlines to get your leagues all set up also lands on Thursday. The matchup on Friday will feature the hottest team to end last season in the Green Bay Packers playing against the coldest team to end last season in the Philadelphia Eagles, so we'll see how that one goes. The rest of the matchups fall on Sunday, and we'll have all the news for you on Monday, so stay tuned. The third match day of European football just ended, and we'll start with some Premier League action as Manchester City stands alone at the top, undefeated. In just 3 games, they've scored 9 goals, and 7 of them have come from Erling Haaland. What? Haaland just scored his second straight hat-trick in a 3-1 win over West Ham. Right behind Manchester City is Liverpool, which is the only other team to have all 9 possible points. Liverpool trashed a Manchester United team 3-0 this weekend. Another big Premier League result is the Spurs losing 2-1 at home to Newcastle. Across the other big leagues in Europe, it's Barcelona atop La Liga who is already ahead by over a game. At the top of Serie A, it's a 4-team tie. The top 2 of those 4 teams are Inter and Juventus. In the German Bundesliga league, it's a big surprise as Heidenheim is tied with giants at the top of the standings like Bayern Munich and Leipzig. And of course, in Ligue 1, PSG is still well above the rest. As the MLB moves into September, there's a team that's breaking records, and it's not a very popular one. The Chicago White Sox took their usual loss on Sunday and are now at an abysmal record of 31-107. This puts their winning percentage at 0.225, which is just barely better than the hitting percentage of most players. That 0.225 mark is the worst of any team since the 1800s, and they only have a month left to change that fact. The only team that's even in their stratosphere is the 1916 Philadelphia Phillies, and they were 10 points above where the White Sox are right now. If you look at the strength of the games in the remaining schedule, all the teams they face are around the middle of the pack, but with their luck, they might get even worse. On the other side of the spectrum, it's the LA Dodgers who are the best team in the league with 82 wins. The other spots that are securely grabbed to the National League are held by the Philadelphia Phillies, Milwaukee Brewers, Arizona Diamondbacks, and San Diego Padres. That final spot will be up for grabs with the New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, and Atlanta Braves all laying claim. Over in the American League, the standings are a lot more settled. It's the New York Yankees, Cleveland Guardians, Baltimore Orioles, Kansas City Royals, and Minnesota Twins that are all 5 games ahead of the nearest challenger. That was a lot to say. The games are coming a mile a minute, so we'll keep you updated if anything changes in this last month. Over to tennis now, the US Open is still going on, and we've reached the final 16 for the men's and women's sides. On the men's side, Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz are surprisingly out, so it's anyone's cup to win. The 3 favorites that are still in the tournament are Daniil Medvedev, Jannik Sinner, and Alexander Zverev. Don't forget about the hometown heroes though, because the Americans Frances Tiafoe, Tommy Paul, and Taylor Fritz are all still in the mix as well. An American hasn't won the US Open since 2003 when Andy Roddick did it, so it'd be a very big deal if one of those 3 guys got it done. On the women's side, the favorites are Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka. Again though, there's some underdog Americans, as Jessica Pegula and Emma Navarro look to play the spoiler. On to golf now as the PGA Tour finished up with the unsurprising winner being Scotty Scheffler. Scheffler finished off his $62 million season with a bang. He shot under 30 in the entirety of the FedEx Cup and won it by 4 strokes. His finals round was even more memorable though, as his 62 was a course record. This will cap off an incredible year for Scheffler as he's taken home the gold in the Olympics and won the entire tour. Congratulations. And for our final piece of news, we'll recap some college football. The number 1 seeded Georgia absolutely blew out Clemson 34-3. Poor Clemson, as all they could muster up was 1 field goal. In a closer game, Notre Dame took a victory over Texas A&M. Texas A&M's quarterback, Connor Wagman, completed less than 50% of his passes, which very much disappointed the fans. The rest of the week went just about as expected, except for Florida losing their first game to rival Miami. And that'll do it for the first Shutter Sports Refresh of September. I'm your host, Finn Noel, and I hope we made your day just a little bit better. You can check out me and Shutter Sports Media on all social medias down below. Don't forget about the man who wrote the script, Lucky Roberts. He'll be down there as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.